YTBC, what's the deal? So, I've been pumping out a lot of heavyweight videos, but I have been watching everybody's videos, and the hot topic right now in the YTBC has been this, was it Triple G and Bernard Hopkins type of comparison thing, and this isn't even a video particularly about that, but one thing I will say that made Bernard Hopkins great as a fighter, I was watching the, the HBO full telecast of the pay-per-view. And this was a poll that they had the fans do. And not only did a lot of fans think Tito was going to whoop Bernard Hopkins, right before this, I don't want to play the clip because it'll be copyright infringements, but Emmanuel Stewart, RIP, great trainer, he was giving his opinion about the fight. And who did he pick? Felix Trinidad. He said it's hard to pick against Felix Trinidad right now. You know, when people are comparing Triple G and Hopkins, you know, I think people forget about some of the things that Hopkins has done that Triple G hasn't faced yet. And what I mean by that is just going into a fight where fans, media, boxing writers, the people on the damn telecast, they think you're going to lose the fight. It's not a fight where you're going into the fight and people think you're going to knock the guy out somewhere, you know, in the first few rounds or something. Bernard Hopkins has done that many a times, and I just think there's a misconception when I hear people say, yeah, Hopkins fought, you know, Felix Trinidad. He picked on a little guy. It's like, well, in hindsight, we can say that Felix Trinidad was a little guy. But in that moment in time, you got to remember, Don King put the tournament together. Trinidad went in there and steamrolled Joppy. You know what I'm saying? Like, this was pretty much showcase for Felix Trinidad. To a lot of people, I remember this fight party clearly. I clearly remember this fight party, and guess who was the one idiot in the fight party that was saying Bernard Hopkins is going to rough his ass up? Me, yours truly. The whole fight party, with everybody in the party was like, they thought I was drunk. Well, I was drunk, but I thought Hopkins was going to rough Tito up, and he did. You know, so I'm just saying, you know, Triple G has, you know, a ways to go in his career, obviously, you know, so we'll see what he can do, but you got to get in there with somebody when odds are against you. For me, that's just for me as a fan. Some of you may say, well, there's nobody around. He'll be the favorite against everybody. Okay, fine. But you know what I mean? You can find a fight. You know what I mean? Find somebody that you'll be a damn underdog against and then show us what you got. But Hopkins was great at that. Evander Holyfield was another guy that had that type of ability to go in there when the odds were against them and whoop ass. Not just going there when you're the favorite and you're supposed to knock this dude out. Even if it's a competitive fight or not, you're still always the betting favorite and the fans' favorite. You have to go in there with somebody when you're the underdog and get it done. Now, there have been great fighters in the past. So in the comment section, I know you guys are going to leave, well, this fighter, you know, you'll probably say Mike Tyson went into all his fights as the favorite and people look at him as great. Yeah, but it was how he was doing it. He did put together a good streak, and you're right. When Tyson was on his hot tear, he was a favorite going into all his fights. But it was just the fact that he was he 20 years old? I mean, he was a fucking 20-year-old, man. Being the king of the division, you know what I mean? Undisputed by, what, 21, 22? So it was that whole thing going in with that. But so I'm not here to debate Hopkins and Triple G. All I'm saying is with Hopkins, though, you got to take into consideration that the dude's been in fights, man, where people thought he was going to get his ass kicked. And I can easily put the Pavlik situation on here and find interviews and clippings and listen to the telecast crew say how Pavlik's going to whoop his ass and knock him out, which they did. A lot of fights. Tarver was another fight. You know, so I just want to give some imagery to just, you know, to show you guys, like, dude, a lot of fans thought Trinidad was going to whoop Hopkins' ass, and not just whoop Hopkins' ass, but go on to just keep going to division to division. And then after this fight, guess who they wanted Trinidad to fight? Guess. Roy Jones Jr. So Trinidad was supposed to, you know, go to welterweight, knock off De La Hoya. Junior middleweight, knocked off Vargas and Reed, and then come up to middleweight, knock off Hopkins, and then go up and then fight Roy. That was the plan, but Hopkins put an end to that. But I just want to just go back in time and just live in a moment for just one situation. Just one situation. This isn't you know, I'm trying to prove, well, I am proving a point that Hopkins was always going into situations a lot of times where he was the underdog in his fights. Even the Tavares Cloud fight, he was an underdog. You know, so Hopkins was definitely a, how can I say, a overachiever. You know what I mean? So he made the best of his skills and his ability, man. But until I start, and not just Triple G, a lot of these fighters. So this is more than this is. It goes deeper than Triple G. A lot of these fighters, man, get into some fights where you're not the favorite. You know what I mean? And then we'll see what you got. You know what I'm saying? But some of you may think, oh, who gives a fuck if it was a bet in favor of what the fans thought. Well, I mean, it's hard to look at these numbers, man, and say that you wouldn't be impressed about Bernard Hopkins beating Trinidad. You know, I don't look at this as, oh, he was picking on Trinidad. If anything, back then people were like, man, he's going to whoop old man Hopkins' ass. It was more like Trinidad picking on Hopkins. And then when the bell rang, it was a totally different story. Just my opinion, man. Just want to go back in time with Hopkins and Trinidad. YTBC. I'm out.